Hey guys, Kevin here with a knife video for you, and this is going to be my most carried for sort of November, December 2016. This is the end of the year. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you, especially if you didn't catch it in the previous video where I wished that to all of you. Also, if you want to give me something for Christmas, go ahead and subscribe. I'm so close to 3,000 subscribers, and it would be great to break that number around Christmas time. So let's go ahead and get started here. This is a video that comes out of a habit of my own. Okay, so if you're a first time watching this, many of you know this, but I tend to sort of favor a few knives for a time, and then, you know, as time passes, about every 4 to 6 weeks, I'll sort of switch out the knives that I'm carrying the most often. All right, so I did that recently. There's probably 7 to 10 knives now that I'm carrying a little more often. Some of them are new ones, some of them are older ones that I just felt like I hadn't carried enough lately. But these are ones that I was kind of favoring through all of November and most of December. So let's go ahead and get into this. This gives me a chance to kind of rehash some stuff that I've said about knives before, to share with you some knives that I love, even though, you know, I may have reviewed them a long time ago and I don't really get a reason to get them back on screen. So this gives me a nice chance to talk about a bunch of cool knives and you a chance to look at a bunch of cool knives. So let's start off with a cold steel. I got a couple of cold steels here. I don't always organize it this way, but why don't we go with sort of brands? So I'll try to lump them all together as we go. This, of course, is the American Lawman. This is the green or the olive drab limited run of this knife. And this is, I mean, a great knife. It's just so thin, so lightweight. Absolutely adore this blade shape. Yeah, so many things to like about this knife. Now the lock is a little stiff on this one. And that's pretty normal for cold steels. The strength of that triad lock is appreciated, but yeah, it takes a little bit of strength to actuate as well. And I mean, if you always carry cold steels, you're pretty used to that. If you haven't carried a lot of them, then it can be a little bit of a surprise to you the first time you try to disengage one. But yeah, American Lawman, great knife. This one is awesome because it has tons of utility, tons of ability for a very small, very light, very thin package. So really love carrying this knife. You really don't have to compromise much except for maybe size a little bit to carry a knife that's very lightweight and comfortable. The other cold steel that I've had around with me a lot is the Recon 1. This is one that I will always have around. It's just such a classic knife. Absolutely amazing. You know, cold steel really nailed it when they came up with this. This is, of course, sort of an updated version. Originally, this had like a different lock and it looked quite a lot different. But the Recon 1 is one of the knives that kind of got me interested in knives when I was watching the show where they have the two warriors pitted against each other. And it seems like every time I tell this story on video, I forget the name of the show. Maybe someone would comment with that. By the way, what we're saying about comments, I would love to hear what you've been carrying, and I'd love to extend that a little bit beyond just your knife. So go ahead and add in the comments, not just the knife you've been carrying, but also share with us the light, the wallet, the cell phone, whatever else that you find really useful enough to carry it on your person all the time. Let's switch over to Spyderco's and let's get this one in here first. This, of course, is the Magnitude. I have done my video about this and you kind of know what I think of it. I really like this knife and I have thoroughly been enjoying it. Not everyone has been a fan. This is like the Rubicon, which of course I wasn't a fan of at all, and I think I've said that a few times on video. And even when they came out, I said, yeah, this is not a knife I'll be buying. This one I definitely like a lot more. I like the size, I like the colors, I like the blade. Just overall, I much prefer this to the Rubicon, and I've been really enjoying it. The S30V steel. You know what, I've been carrying this now for a while and it has not been any issue whatsoever, so I can't really complain about that. And of course, not too many people would listen if I did. It's not like Spyderco called me up and asked me what steel to put in here. So anyway, yeah, great knife. I really like carrying it. I get a lot of joy from just the detail and the quality on this knife, even though I did complain a little bit about the materials. It's a really well done knife. Let's see, I got a couple other Spydercos here. The S35VN Para 2. And you know what? If you're into knives and you don't have a pair of two, well, one, watch my video about the knives that everyone should at least try, and this is definitely on the list. This is just a great knife, and you know, if I go a little bit of time without carrying it, I do think to myself, you know what? I haven't carried the pair of two in a while. I got to pick that thing up and use it a bit. And of course, I kind of, and that happened recently, so I've been carrying this a little bit more, and it is just so good. And you know, this is a knife. Whoops, sorry. This is a knife that will never leave my collection. I've had a number of pair of twos, I think 5 in total, and this one is the nicest. It's got the best action. It's the smoothest. Really, really like it. Let's go on to the last Spyderco here, the Mannix 2 XL. Possibly, guys, my favorite Spyderco. It's big. You guys know I like larger knives. It's really, really strongly built. Now it's a little heavy, but you know, 5.5 ounces is no big deal. The action on this is really nice. There's just, I don't know, guys, the ergonomics, the size, the strength, the blade shape, you know, this is a total win as far as I'm concerned. And let me say, now this may not, I looked around a bit recently, but so this may not be as true as it once was, but generally speaking, this knife can be had at, you know, not a terrible price point. So yeah, Mannix 2 XL. Definitely prefer the XL over the standard size. Here's another classic. Maybe this most carried video is kind of a video about classic knives, or maybe I've just been in that mood the last month or so. Here, of course, is the Rat Model 1. This is the carbon fiber and D2 steel from Knifeworks. These are available, but sadly, everywhere that I've seen them is selling them for at least $10 or $15 more than they were originally offered for at Knifeworks. You may go and check over on Knifeworks, and if someone's watching this and wants to comment, Knifeworks may or may not have these in stock, but it's a great knife, and D2 steel is pretty well my favorite, one of my very favorite steels, because you know, I'm considering price in that. Yeah, there are better steels out there, but you know, D2 is great because it's rather affordable as well, and it gives just great performance. Not corrosion resistant, so it's not considered a stainless steel, but that said, you know, I'm not obsessive about caring for my knives, and I've had no issues with rust on any of my D2 blades. Okay, let's switch that one out, and let's go into some more expensive stuff. You guys know I like Wee knives, and maybe it's because I've had these in a few videos recently, but I've been carrying these quite a bit, especially this one, the 601 and the 611. Really, really like them. Now, I'm not going to keep all of the Wee knives that I have. I really don't know which one I'm going to sell, but probably in the new year, maybe in that week between Christmas and New Year's, I'll do a for sale video, and you'll likely see a Wee knife or two in there. So then there's the 611. Both, you know, Wee knives just does a great job. I love the colors. I love the intricate designs. I love the fact that they're going to do some interesting things with blade shapes and stuff. So they're, you know, they're just really high quality and really high interest knives for me. They do a lot of cool stuff. So Wee knives is, you know, a favorite for me. Next up, I've got the XM18. I've had, I think this is my 4th XM18, and I've gotten rid of them and gotten them back, and you know, it's just one of those things. Now this one is the fatty with the Wharncliffe blade shape, and I do really, really like it. This one I don't think is ever going to go anywhere. The reason that I do sell them sometimes is because they sell very quickly and easily. You know, they're a knife that if you want to try a higher end knife, they're a great option, because generally speaking, you know, if you buy one used and you pay, let's say, $400 for it, 2 months later, if you decide you really don't like it, you can get your $400 back out of it. Now, I'm going to do some mods on this one. First off, I do have some phosphor bronze washers here, and I'll be switching those out. But I'm also really considering, and maybe you can give me some feedback in the comments, I'm considering doing like the bronze or the copper standoffs here, and maybe even the liner there. I haven't decided for sure yet, but the cool thing about this is if you look on Hinder's website, you can get that stuff for fairly reasonable prices, even I think the most expensive stuff is like the flamed tie clip and insert, so I probably wouldn't go to that, but I do want to accessorize this one a little bit and dress it up a bit. So let me know what you think down below in terms of what would look really nice on this. I could really see, you know, some copper here kind of setting off the blue really well. Anyway, this is a knife that I have carried a lot, and every XM18 I've had I've really liked. Like, there's nothing, they are very, very well done, and definitely out of like sort of the big three, they're my favorite. Since we're on sort of a higher end kick right now, let's pick one of my, this is maybe my favorite high end knife that I own. It's even, you know, if someone called me and said, hey, I'm looking, or someone messaged me and said, look, want to get something a little more high end, I would really recommend this knife. One, right now there are a few used ones out there. This model is not brand new. This knife is probably the nicest action I've felt, even nicer than the stuff I've had from Custom Knife Factory. It's very, very good. Great fit, great finishes. You know, I love the blue accents here. I love the milling. You know, there's so many things about this knife that I really, really like. You know, honestly, if you go back in my most carried videos, you'll probably see this one a lot. It's just a great knife. And this is, of course, the Rillette Torrent, or the Rillette Knives Torrent. They have a bunch of great models. I don't think you can go far wrong with any of them, especially the newer stuff. Some of the older stuff, you know, the Horizons and those things, those don't do much for me. But yeah, anything from Lawman design, any of the newer, let's say 2015 or beyond, yeah, very, very well done. Not that the other ones weren't, they were just not quite there wasn't quite as much attention to detail in some of the older ones. Okay, so Rillette Knives Torrent. Just a few more knives to get through and then we'll be done. Oh yeah, let's pull this one in. You guys know I like the big sort of tactical style knives, and this one is a very stylistic knife, guys, right? I know that some people are going to look at it and go, that is the ugliest knife I've ever seen. And that's the nature of the beast, you know, and that's sort of you know, I would say to each his own. If you don't like it, then don't buy one, you know. But if you do, just because someone else says that it's ugly somewhere, like, who cares? Just, you know, like what you like and do what you do, and don't worry that much about the opinion of other people, especially if you're a YouTuber, because you get a lot of them. Anyway, this is the Hogue X5, and I actually kind of like this design, even though it is a little bit over the top. What I really like, though, is the really very stiff detent on this that makes it flip really, really nicely. So this one has been in my pocket quite a bit. In fact, it's fairly thin and carries, especially because, you know, down here, it's sort of that teardrop shape that you see a lot, but it carries really deeply and it carries really nicely because it's not all that thick. So a lot of times if I want a larger knife that you know, and I don't want to be, you know, taking up a lot of real estate in my pocket, I'll carry this because it actually carries really, really well. Let's see. Oh, one more knife. This is also a big one. I have here the Stedman, or I guess the Zone Knife Company D01, and you know, that's what they call it. Essentially, you know, this is a Stedman. I would just call it the Stedman D01. Great knife, nice and big. It's definitely my favorite design from them to date. This is also available in titanium. Now, I don't know. I haven't pulled the trigger on any of the titanium Stedmans. Really, I'm a little spoiled by the real steel roller bearings, and now any knife that doesn't have roller bearings, I kind of look at it and go, I don't know if the action's going to be quite as good as what I want. So there you go. That's the last one on the list. I'll start pulling these knives back in here. Let me once again, for those of you who didn't watch the video where I did this before, wish everyone a very, very Merry Christmas. Thank you very much for watching, and we will talk to you soon. Oh, one more knife. Sorry. There you go.